by simply rewetting peat, the figures are very clear across the planet that roughly 5% of global greenhouse gas emissions come from degraded peatlands, which is extraordinary when you think about it. So just to put things in context, as I said, 1/3 of all soil carbon is stored in peatland, and it only covers only 3% of the global land area, and degraded peatland is greater than 5% of greenhouse gas emissions. And might I add that if it was fully operational, it actually would account for about 2% sequestration. So global carbon stocks, you see how important Ireland is in this. It's one of the dark countries in terms of stocks, which is a good thing. We're one of the main peatland countries in the world, we all know that. There are various measures being brought into the Common Agricultural Policy as we speak in relation to what's called polluticulture and so on, which is wetland farming. Results-based payment scheme. Ireland is to the forefront in terms of results-based payment schemes, that by restoring 3% of the agricultural land, that we could save 25% of the agricultural emissions. So hopefully we'll have a system here within the next 2 years. And that means that people basically will be able to restore peatlands and get paid for it, which I think is a good thing for rural Ireland, so long as it's done in a community approach. Okay, so there's lots of policies underpinning this. The Sustainable Development Goals. We're in the UN ecosystem, decade of ecosystem restoration from 2021 to 2030. The European Green Deal, basically, I think roughly €1 trillion has been allocated to that. One of the things that always bugs me is people say, you know, there's all sorts of issues in relation to greenhouse gas, greenhouse effect, and that in fact climate change isn't real and this sort of thing. You know, the thing that bothers me is it's pretty basic stuff. It's very basic science. It's not actually very complicated science. You know, so I do accept that there are other factors at play, and I do accept that there are some spots, you know, maybe causing some of the temperature rises and so on. But to say that there is no effect from carbon and greenhouse effect, to me, you haven't really looked at it. You know? So in Ireland, 20% of our land area is peatland, 80% roughly is damaged or degraded peatland, and estimates by I suppose a lot of the peatland scientists have come together, we've put figures together, and we've worked out that about 10 million tonnes of CO2 emissions each year come from degraded peatlands, not as I said from burning, that's extra. And from the worst, we are the worst country for peat loss in Europe up to 2018. We've changed dramatically in the last 3 or 4 years. So restoring our peatlands will make an enormous difference. There's a lot of people around Europe are quite annoyed with us because, you know, we came from a situation where they saw us as Philistines and heathens who were ripping up our bogs and burning them and all this sort of thing. And all of a sudden we've turned out to be the best in class. You know, literally in the last few years, we've now got over 100,000 hectares under restoration. All these different projects are taking place in Ireland right now, and Bord na Móna has completely 180 degrees about turn, gone from being a company who's ripping up peatlands to actually restoring them.
Well, it makes a lot of sense, actually.
It really does. Yeah. The coordinating, it's just simply we're talking about coordinating it.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be a massive agency, it just needs to be a small coordination agency which can help with.
Because the thing about a lot of these on this list is they just are, as the word says, projects. They start and they end.
Exactly.
And the expertise can be lost. We need a 40-year project on this, just the same way as Bord na Móna was an era. So the era of nature restoration, primarily in peatland and forestry, but it could be other areas too.
Irish people are sensible, you know, and it's a case of if we can develop a proper scheme and a proper sort of framework to, you know, do things in a way that suits everybody, which would include the restoration of peatlands, then why not? I think when it becomes clear exactly what we have here, you know, it's quite exciting really, and the more we look into it, the greater it becomes. And I just say from the Netherlands point of view, I was in the Netherlands recently and had a great talk from somebody who basically said that, look, they removed all their peat from the year 1300 to the year 1900 and they're now, on average, for about a third of the country, about 5 metres below sea level. And that's because they've scooped out all the peat and done, put big walls up to keep the sea out. And it's these dikes, but the subsidence levels, you'll hear about this in all these farming debates in the Netherlands. And they've taken it all out, and they're saying, please, in Ireland, would you stop burning it? Would you stop destroying it? You've got such a valuable resource.